Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be using Opencode and I'm going to be vibe coding with Opencode, which is an open source AI coding agent that is gaining a ton of traction. So up here, I just want to draw your attention to the fact that it has 57,000 stars on GitHub. So I guess 56.5, but this has been taking off. I mean, I think that I checked on it like last week and it had like 40,000 and now it's got 56,000. It's got 529 contributors and this is an open source AI coding agent. And a lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people are using it and I want to use it today. I'm going to be vibe coding with Opencode to complete a couple of different tasks. But let's just kind of break this down a little bit. If you already know what Opencode is, you can skip to the next section in the video. But we're going to just review this. We're going to vibe code with it to knock out a couple tasks. We're going to use the different models that it allows. And we're going to talk a little bit about some changes and some things that I noticed. So with that being said, my goal for this video is 150 likes. So if you guys could like and subscribe and join the Discord if you haven't already. But with that being said, guys, let's get right into the video. So the first thing I want to break down is it's very easy to get started. So just for example, I already have it set up on my screen, on my computer. So you just download it. And then for example, it's very similar to like Claude Code where, hey, it's a CLI tool. So you can launch Opencode in the terminal and it's going to open up Opencode. So you could see that, hey, if I want to launch, multiple instances of Opencode, I can just launch, another terminal. And now I have two instances of Opencode right here. So it's very simple to set up. You can also configure MCPs with it. And I'll get into that in a second. But with that being said, let's get right back over here and just talk about, okay, very easy to get started with it. Here's their little preview, but what actually is Opencode? So Opencode is an open source agent that helps you write code in your terminal, IDE, or desktop. Okay, so LSP is enabled, automatically loads the right LSPs for the LLM, multi-session, start multiple agents in parallel on the same project, which I just showed you guys, share links, so you share a link to any session for reference or to debug, Claude Pro, and now this actually is something that I wanted to talk about. People are now saying that you can't use Claude, so we're going to take a look at that later in the video to see if because I did use it last week and now it's coming out that Claude or Anthropic has basically stopped the use of that, which is very interesting. So we'll get into that in a second. But also any models, they have 75 plus LLM providers through models.dev, including local models, which is big, right? Because this is like, there are a couple free models. So if you're looking to like get free vibe coding and if you're looking to get free models and free access, this is actually a pretty solid tool. So also you can use it in any editor. So pretty simple, but this is what I wanted to kind of talk about is this chart here. It's really taken off. So now with over 56,000 GitHub stars, trusted by over 650,000 developers. I mean, this is really up and coming. So I'm surprised that this is experiencing the explosive growth that it has. I mean, obviously tools like Codex and Claude Code are very popular now. But this as an open source tool is just absolutely exploding. So with that being said, let's actually start using it. Let's pull it up. So this is a new project that I'm working on. So this is the BridgeMind workspace. It's connected to the BridgeMind MCP. So I can go over here and here's just a list of tasks. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be interacting with these different Opencode workspaces and working on different tasks here inside of BridgeMind, and we'll get into that in a second. But right now, this is actually a new project that I'm working on that connects with the official BridgeMind MCP. None of this is released yet, but we're going to be using Opencode with the BridgeMind MCP to be able to vibe code. So the first thing that I want to touch on is models. Look at this. So you can connect this with your Anthropic account. I did. Now, this may have changed. Let's just do test because I believe, yeah, so check this out. So this is new. Anthropic has actually gone the distance to say that for some reason they don't want you to be able to use your Claude Code subscription with Opencode. I don't know why, but last week I was able to use, Claude Opus 4.5 just fine in Opencode, but for some reason Anthropic just decided to shut this down for whatever reason, obviously a strategic decision, but you can see here this credential is only authorized for the use with Claude Code and cannot be used for other API requests. So that's very surprising. So they were letting you use your Claude Code plan or your Anthropic plan with this, but now apparently you can only use it with Claude Code. So very interesting that Anthropic decided to actually go through with that. But the next thing I want to show you guys is what other models can you actually use. So, obviously if you go down here, I'm going to get under Anthropic. You can search So if we just go to search and I do like OpenAI, can I, hold on, connect provider. So this is very interesting. So the biggest thing is that there are free models, right? So GLM 4.7 is like a very big free model that people are talking about. Also, Grok Code Fast is all right. GLM 4.7 though is better. Also, MiniMax M 2.1 is a big one here that's free. So if you're using Opencode, you do have access to these free models. And something that I do want to draw your attention to just with that is like if we do pull up LM Arena and we pull up the leaderboard and we go over to web dev, something very interesting is that, you know, we now have models with GLM 4.7 and MiniMax M 2.1, which are in Opencode, which are free models inside of Opencode. And what I want you to notice is that these models are actually better than GPT-5, which is shocking, right? I mean, GPT-5 came out, what was it, in August? And we now have free models that are performing like not even just slightly better, but that's actually quite a bit. I mean, you're talking about a model here, MiniMax M 2.1 preview scores 50 higher on the web dev leaderboard, which is actually like pretty good. That's a substantial improvement. So, you know, you can use a model inside Opencode here that's better than GPT-5 for free. So let's just go here and I'm going to use Whisperflow and just say, I want you to use the BridgeMind MCP and find tasks in the BridgeMind project that have not yet been completed, and I want you to complete them. So I'm just going to give it this prompt, and this is using the new BridgeMind MCP. I'll get into that in some future live streams. I will be live today for about a couple hours, but what this it's able to do, you can see it's listing the tasks inside this project. It's integrating with the BridgeMind MCP. You can see that this MCP is connected, and what this is able to do is this is able to actually take a pre-existing task that's been defined in this project here. So it's this task. So this task improved the sidebar styling in the BridgeMind web app, and then here are the instructions for it, right? So this was a task that was created using the BridgeMind MCP, and now MiniMax M 2.1 is working on that task. So it had the instructions for it, it had the prompt for it, and now it's able to actually work on this task and complete that task. So something I want to do now is let's actually go to, let's open this up. So I'm going to go over to BridgeMind here. I'm going to open up a new workspace, and I'm going to CD into BridgeMind here, and I'm actually going to CD into the BridgeMind web app. And what I want to do is I just want to run this application because this is the one. Okay, so it's 3001, perfect. So this is updating here, and I will say, like, I like how you have the context here at all times. Context 47,000 tokens, percentage used 23%. So you can see, you know, we're 23% of our context window in, and we've spent 47,000 tokens so far, right? So, and you can see here that it is editing this, and I mean, I do like the UI. I mean, it's simple. It just is like an all black UI, which is fine. Let's head over to this this web app. So I'm gonna pull up BridgeMind here, and I'm gonna log in, and I'm just gonna briefly, okay, I'm already logged in. So let's go over to this sidebar is what it's working on here. So just this sidebar that you see, we can go over to our projects, we can go to BridgeMind, and this is the to-do that it's working on, and we can see what it's going to do to this sidebar. So it's very nice because all you have to do to connect to the BridgeMind MCP is you just connect with an API key. So here are my different API keys. This is the one that I'm using for my MCP server. But let's go back over to Opencode and see where is it at with this task. One thing that I will say is check out, you can see that there's rate limiting, there is a little bit of a speed issue. You can see rate limit exceeded tokens per minute. So it literally has a rate limit on the amount of tokens per minute that you're able to get inside of Opencode, right? So, you know, with these free models, a caveat of that is this fact that, hey, if something is free, there is going to be a drawback for it, right? It's like, hey, if you're using anti-gravity and you're using free models in anti-gravity, or if you're using Opencode and you're using free models in Opencode, you are going to experience, you know, some drawbacks. And in this case, you can see that this actually rate limits tokens per minute that you're able to get with some of these free models. So very interesting there. So something else that I want to do is let's go over here, and I just want to have some of these models like work with the BridgeMind MCP and intuitively create tasks to complete. So let's pull up let's pull up models here, and let's go to GLM 4.7, and I'm also going to launch, let's launch 4 of these terminals total, right? And let's just launch Opencode in all 4 of them, okay? And what's very nice about what I've been working on a little bit is that you can now use the BridgeMind MCP so that you can work with AI that's able to create tasks for you, right? So I'm just going to say this. I want you to review the BridgeMind UI project. And what I want you to do is I want you to review the project and identify things that need to be done that have not yet been done. So for example, I want you to review the breadcrumbs and make sure that across the project, breadcrumbs are positioned and styled consistently. I want you to review, and then I'm just going to drop in the BridgeMind UI, and it's very nice. I will say that I like the UI here in Opencode. Obviously, you just have the /@, right? You can do @BridgeMind UI. I want you to use the BridgeMind MCP server and create a new task in the BridgeMind project associated with this. So that's going to create a new task in the MCP, and then I'm going to launch another window, and I'm just going to also add the BridgeMind app, and I'm going to now add the BridgeMind Electron application, and I'm just going to say, I want you to review the BridgeMind Electron task board, and I want you to then review the BridgeMind app, and note that we have not yet built out that many screens on the BridgeMind app. So what I need you to do is I need you to interact with the BridgeMind MCP and list my projects and work inside the BridgeMind project in the BridgeMind MCP, and I want you to create a new task associated with creating a screen that is basically the task board that is constructed and styled similarly to what you see in the Electron application. Create the task for this. Okay, so we now have this, and what's nice about something that I've been doing lately is I think that the further along that you can get from like model abstraction in terms of instead of giving a prompt that's like a baseline overview of what you want done and then having that AI work on it, what I think is going to give me a better result is to have initially this AI create a task, a plan of what's going to be done, and then to store it in this board and then pass that task later on to another AI. So that's something I've been working on. It's basically a new project for us, but you can see that Opencode is listing out a ton here. In terms of like the UI and how I feel about that in Opencode, I mean, it's an open source project, right? With like free models and some rate limiting. I think that something with Opencode that I will say is that like Opencode is a cursor of CLI tools, right? Like Droid, for example. If you guys know Droid or are familiar with Droid, I don't really like use Droid that much. I mean, I can launch another workspace and let's just CD over to let's CD over to BridgeMind real quick and launch Droid. I may have to update it, but like with Droid, how many models do you have access to here? So model selector. So with Droid, for example, you have Droid Core, which this may just be my end, like that, the fact that I haven't updated it, but they're still offering GLM 4.6, Gemini 3 Flash, Gemini 3 Pro High, Haiku 4.5, Opus 4.5, Sonnet 4.5, 5.2, and then the Legacy 5.1 models. So if we go back over to Workspace 2 here and open Opencode, I think that in the model selector, like how do we connect like is it Control A? So you can see here like Control A, and let me just move my face cam out. Like you can see all of these models that are available inside Opencode. So one thing that I will say about Opencode is you just have a ton of options of different providers that you want to connect with. For example, like, hey, I don't know a lot of companies that are allowing you to connect with like open source models like Moonshot AI, Lucid Corey, ZAI, Coding Plan. Like you can connect with all these different plans in Opencode, and a reason that is, I mean, look at this. There is no other tool that is giving you this many options. So I think for a lot of people that are doing like open source or they are working with, they just want a little bit more of an open source tool that they can use with any plan. Like if you take Droid, for instance, I'm sure that Droid has different partnerships with these companies and that they've just made a strategic decision to not even offer the ability. So you can see that this one's created a comprehensive task in the BridgeMind project. So let's open up our task board here and go over to the BridgeMind project. And you can see that this one's now in review. So the improved, that one's in review. And this is the task that GLM 4.7 created. So this is the one associated with just the breadcrumb navigation. So here was the task that it created. So it found a bunch of styling instances where it was not consistent. So what we want to now do is we now want to have that this instance actually work on this task. Great work. I now want you to complete this task. So we'll now complete this task, and you can see that this one is also creating a new task. And this one was associated with updating the BridgeMind app so that it also has a task board similar to what you're seeing in the Electron app. And what's really nice about this application, this BridgeMind application, is that I can just launch more workspaces. And this will probably be coming out in the next few weeks. We're going to be working on it on stream today in the coming days. But you can see, I mean, Opencode, it's good. One of the biggest benefits for sure is just your ability to connect with all of these different providers. So here are obviously the most popular. What is Opencode Zen though? Is that, so Opencode.ai Zen. Opencode Zen gives you access to all the best coding models at the cheapest prices with a single API key. Okay, that's interesting. So that's something that I have not looked into yet. Let's just like pull that up and see. Okay, so Zen. So this is their product basically. So add $20 pay as you go. Use with any agent, set monthly spend limits, cancel any time. So yeah, I mean, it has a lot of good reviews. I think for people that are more heavy, like leaning heavily on open source AI and using a lot of tools that are open source, Opencode is probably going to be like a go-to for you. A big issue that I now do think that you should consider is like, hey, if I go to our workspace here and I CD into this project and I launch Claude, right? And I'm using Claude Code. With Claude Code, there's so many benefits of using Claude Code because, for example, I mean, I can just add this and I can say, hey, go to the BridgeMind API. I want you to launch 5 code-based analyst agents that will review the API and identify any security-related issues and create a documented README. And then I want you to create a new task using the BridgeMind MCP. I want you to create a new task in the BridgeMind project associated with my account that will be able to solve some of these vulnerabilities that you find. Create a task for each security vulnerability that you identify in the BridgeMind project using the BridgeMind MCP. So this is a great way because I can just give it one prompt. It's going to be able to launch, 5 agents. But something that I want to draw your attention to is it's like, hey, I think what you guys need to decide, and everybody's in a different situation, right? Like if we go back to Opencode here, it's like, hey, you can see that it works all right. You get access if you want to use free models and you just want to be able to vibe code on a budget. I do think that this is going to be really good for you guys because you do have access to some great models like GLM 4.7 and MiniMax M 2.1 that are free. Also, this Big Pickle, I actually don't even know what Big Pickle is. I don't know who makes that, what model provider that actually is, but having access to free AI, I think for a lot of people is good. Now, if you are kind of on that frontier, which we are at BridgeMind, a lot of us are, which is, hey, I'm using the Claude 20X plan and I'm using it because that's the best tool right now, right? So why would I use any other tool when I can launch Claude Code, right? And I want to talk a little bit about that because, for example, this is what I wanted to show you guys. So using Claude Code, I'll launch 5 security analyst agents to review the API code base and get the project list from the BridgeMind MCP in parallel, right? So it launched 5 agents that are now working in parallel that are doing a complete, they're all reviewing different parts of the code base to gain a complete understanding, and then it's going to be able to create that README, and then it's going to create different tasks in the BridgeMind project that we're going to be able to process and work through, right? So that's one benefit of using Claude Code where I would say, hey, definitely consider if you are on the frontier, would Opencode be smart for you? Probably not, because a Claude 20X plan is going to get you so far, right? I actually canceled my Cursor Ultra plan and I canceled my ChatGPT Pro plan, and I was able to cancel them because Claude 20X, you get so much usage. You're able to launch a bunch of agents in parallel very easily, like we did here in Workspace 5. And, it's just very easy to be able to do that, right? So I like it. Now, with that being said, if you are trying to vibe code on a budget and you're looking for, hey, what's a great CLI tool or a great tool where I can just vibe code for free, then Opencode is going to be a great opportunity for you because, yeah, you just can't really do that in Codex. You can't really do that in Claude Code. But with Opencode, because it's open source and because there are free models, I think that it's opening the door to a lot of people. Now, I will say GLM 4.7 is not getting rate limited the same way that MiniMax model was. So that's one thing to note is that MiniMax M 2.1 may get rate limited a little bit more, but GLM 4.7 is not getting rate limited. So that's great. Great work. I now, oh, this one's still working. Okay, this is still working. So like, for example, I mean, how do I even, so connect provider, you can see Control A here, and then I could just do OpenAI, and then I can enter my OpenAI key. I don't think that, it doesn't look like I can connect with it just with my normal ChatGPT plan. Is that the case? Let's see here. So let's do Control A, and like, for example, with Anthropic, they've now shut this down, so it's possible that OpenAI, yeah, I mean, they only have the option for you to do the API key. So now that I know that, it looks like Anthropic may have just made a strategic decision recently to make it so that you can only, like, hey, if you want to use your Anthropic plan and you want to use 20x, we don't want you to be able to use it in Opencode. We want you using it through, Claude Code here, which there's nothing inherently wrong with that. I don't know why you would want to use Opencode over Claude Code unless, like, if you already have a Claude Code plan and you already are using Claude Code or are using Anthropic models in general, I don't know why you would necessarily want to use Opencode. I don't think that Opencode is going to necessarily get you like a better result. It's an open source platform. It's got a lot of contributors. I think that there's a lot of potential with it, but I feel like the target market here for Opencode is probably associated with people that maybe not be on the frontier or are on a budget, local model users, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that this is probably what the target is there. So yeah, I mean, if you are, there are also, like, you can compact, you can rename, copy, export timeline. Also, you can do a review in it. A lot of the same functionality that you're seeing in Claude Code. Like if we just pull up Claude Code here, can I do a slash? Like Claude Code, you can see it has a ton of options here, and it's very similar in Opencode. I think that for a lot of these, a lot of the, look at my skills here, or let's wait on that because it's still working. But let's go back over to Workspace 2. It's a little bit slow. I don't think that this task that I was giving it was that hard. So the fact that it's just a little bit on the slow side, I think that if I was using like Claude Opus 4.5, so I don't necessarily know if it's the model that's slow, right? Or if it's just, I mean, let's pull up OpenRouter. How fast is GLM 4.7? Is it fast? All right, let's go to GLM 4.7. And let's see, what's it? I mean, it is kind of a slow model. I mean, it's like 40 tokens per second. So that makes sense. That's probably not an Opencode issue. So let's pull back up BridgeMind again, and let's actually launch a new workspace here. And I do want to CD over to BridgeMind again. So let's go over here. Hold on. All right, so let's launch Opencode again. And here, let's do a slash command. And let's just review, like, hey, with MCPs, you can see I have BridgeMind connected. That's the only MCP that I have connected at the moment. But again, with the init, let's see here. So you can create and update the agents MD file. That's very new. Toggle theme. Okay, so you have different themes, which is, that's normal. That's fine. Different themes. Editor, I did open this editor. This was like confusing. I don't know if anybody necessarily knows what this is used for, but I did see that, and then I got like stuck in it, which is fine, but that's just definitely something to note. So let's CD back over here, and let's go to BridgeMind, and let's launch Opencode again. And let's go to our workspace. Where are we at with the task list? So we have the task board screen for the app. So let's actually launch one of these, and let's just say, I want you to use the BridgeMind MCP, and I want you to review the to-do tasks that need to be done, and I need you to select the one that's in the to-do list, and I need you to then complete it. So this is going to be able to use that. There's no like commands like ultra think or other added features with Opencode. I don't necessarily know how I feel about that. It's like, I think that you gotta decide when you're doing this, like, hey, here are all the skills that we have. You don't have access to Claude skills. You don't have access to a lot of different things that are just great to have, right? So here are the different tasks that are now getting created. So this is working with the BridgeMind MCP, and for each vulnerability that it's identified in our project, which, this is a fairly new project, so there's going to be a decent amount of stuff that we're going to be uncovering and that we're going to be wanting to fix. But what's nice is that, I can now launch agents, and I can then have these agents create tasks using the BridgeMind MCP, and then I can pass those tasks that have specified instructions, system prompts, knowledge, etc., into a separate agent that has a fresh context window that's able to just work on that specific task. So let's go over here and let's see how these agents are doing. So these tasks have not yet been created yet, but they are going to be created. Now, this one here, Opencode, so it's reviewing the MCP to-do list and it's selecting one. So you can see here that it was able to take that task and it already did move it into in progress. So this is the task that we're working on. So build task board screen for the BridgeMind mobile app, which is a React native app. So you can see the instructions that were created, and it's a decent amount of instructions because it's able to pass in the file structure, the API integration, the different mobile adaptions, a lot of good stuff in this task, and we are going to make this better, but that's just what that looks like. Now let's head over back to workspace 7 where that's working, and I will say, like, Opencode, again, it's fine. I'm gonna give it the BridgeMind stamp of approval just because I think that this is addressing, and there's like a bunch of sun in my eyes, that's fine, but this is addressing an issue or a different market than, for example, like Claude Code would, because hey, with Claude Code, you're spending either $20 a month and you're not getting a ton of usage, or you're spending $100 or $200 and you're getting a ton of usage for a great frontier model and a great frontier agentic coding system. But, you know, something to consider is that, hey, with people that are on lower budgets that may not be wanting to spend $200 a month or be able to spend $200 a month, I think that Opencode is opening up a new ability for people that are on those budgets to be able to use a CLI tool that is good. So if you are on a budget or you are a local model user, this is now a tool that you should be checking out because, hey, you can go here and you can launch Opencode. And if you go to models, I mean, yeah, you have access to free models. It's a good tool. I will say, like, you can see that it is getting the job done. Now, I don't like the fact that Anthropic just closed off the ability to use Claude Code, your Claude Code plan or your Anthropic plan with it. I mean, I think that that's a little bit too far, but it does look like OpenAI is doing that too, so it's probably just a strategic decision from them, where that, hey, they don't want you to be able to use, you know, your Claude Code plan with Opencode, right? So just an interesting note there. So it looks like this is now done. So you can see that here are all the tasks that were created from that to-do list. So it has 18 to-dos. And this is where, like, I am vibe coding with Opencode, but I'm kind of comparing it to Claude Code just because Claude Code is the main tool that I use, right? So I think that for me, it's like, hey, you need to be able to compare those things. But, you know, I can now say to this agent here, I'm going to say, use the BridgeMind MCP and identify a task in the BridgeMind project that has not been completed yet in the to-dos, and choose it to be completed and complete the task. So what I can do now is I can now launch a bunch of these windows, right? I'm going to be able to, you know, just copy this prompt here and just launch a ton of different Opencode windows here and be able to launch all of them and complete all these tasks. So I'll just launch the same thing on, it looks like I was using the wrong model. So let's do that one here. So look at this. Yeah. So same thing. It gave us an issue here, right? That's because that's not going to work. Yeah. Yeah, that's not going to work. Yeah, this credential is only authorized with Claude Code and cannot be used for other API requests. That's crazy that they did that. But understandable, right? All right. So let's now go to GLM 4.7. Launch that again, and then we can just continue to launch a bunch of Opencode windows until we have all of our tasks completed, right? So we'll do that. These are all going to work. I'm going to work offline a little bit, but definitely, I mean, it's an interesting tool. GLM 4.7 and MiniMax M 2.1, these are good models. I think that there can be something to be said about the fact that, hey, you know, these models are better than GPT-5, which was the frontier model only, what, 4 months ago, and they're now free. So if you are on a budget, if you use GLM 4.7 or MiniMax M 2.1, I would highly suggest that you check out Opencode. It's exploding in popularity and definitely something worth checking out. So with that being said, guys, I will see you guys in the future.